And this location is as much a part of the movie as everybody is. And that's sort of, the look to the whole movie, which I think is great. That North African feel, windswept island, changes the main character's sort of view for a while. And as a result, changes his entire life.
I am very excited to chat with you both for American Star. I watched it this morning, and it is a beautiful movie from start to finish. It's a great character drama. It has some nice twists, and it looks gorgeous. So kudos to you both on all of that. Ian, I'd like to turn to you first. You are a producer and a star on this. What about this project inspired you to wear both hats for the movie?
I made a movie together. Well, we'd made a movie together before, and about 10 years ago, little less than 10 years ago, called The Hollow Point, which is a Western noir movie. It's actually another, because he's a very good filmmaker. It's a really good Western noir movie with Johnny Leguizamo and Patrick Wilson, myself, and Jim Belushi. We made it in Utah, but it got lost in distribution hell in a way. But we remained friends and wanted to work together again. About a year later, he said he had a script written by this friend of his, Nacho, but there was just this title, Wilson, who was this hitman, whatever. And then Gonzalo came up with the connection because he lives in the Canaries. And this story about the American Star, the ship that was grounded there, it seemed a metaphor for me. And over the next sort of few years, we talk about it. He and Nacho worked on the script, and we went on to do other things. And then I worked with, and then I made a movie called Jawbone with the producer Mike Elliott, who makes very good independent movies in England. And Mike and I talked about this. I brought Mike in, and he met Gonzalo. And then in early 22, bingo, we had a period in time to make the movie, and we did. And it was interesting because you get to make the movie with nobody looking over your shoulder. You get to make the movie you want to make, and I think I'll hand it over to him, saying that's exactly what you saw. Thank you for your kind comments, because we like it too. Thank you. Over to you.
Yes, Gonzalo, over to you. I mean, what about the project, Nacho's idea and script really spoke to you to want to be at the helm for this?
Maybe now that I'm thinking, I don't know, for the first time, but sometimes you don't have time to really think about it. But I think I needed to do something different. I needed to do something that somehow made me connect more with the kind of films that I wanted to do. Really, probably. I started doing really independent and experimental or art house movies, and then I did other things. And maybe with the last movies and the last experience I had in Spain, I felt like I needed to change something. I was lucky to be able to change it, because sometimes you want to change things, but then you cannot do it, you cannot change it. So that, and then the whole story, of course, like Wilson's story, the fact that we did this movie together and there was this opportunity for us to have Ian doing Wilson's character. Then my wife, Catalina, told me about the ship, because I was living in the Canary Islands, but the ship was already sunken completely, was not there. But then she started showing me the picture. So I talked to Nacho, the writer, and he changed his original idea about the script, and we did this mirror of the character with the American Star ship. But it was like at the right time when I needed to do something more grounded, something that I could feel really proud of it. But it took us very long time, like 7 years or even more. But I don't regret. I don't have problems with that, because
the script got better and better.
It went better and better, yeah. And I was getting older with the script, and I was knowing even better what I wanted to do and being more confident about how I wanted to do it, and about the ending and about everything. How you want to protect the movie and how you want to do it, and if the movie has mistakes and problems, are going to be my mistakes or my problems, but not, because we did it our way.
And you work with a cinematographer like Jose David, they've worked together for, God knows, over 25 years, I think, haven't you? Yeah. And he's a wonderful, when you move around on an independent show with a really small, gifted crew, you do what you want. It's a very civilized way to work, and you don't realize the work you put into it until the end, and you're flying home after 6 weeks. We had a few days rehearsal, costume tests, We shot for 25 days. It didn't seem rushed. And suddenly, wow, it's over. You've made it. And here we are a year and a bit later talking about it. It's going to be in the cinemas. And you think, yeah, it's a film like all good films, I think. The curtain goes down, the lights go off, and then you're taken somewhere else for 2 hours. And this location is as much a part of the movie as everybody is. And that's sort of, the look to the whole movie, which I think is great. That North African feel, windswept island, changes the main character's sort of view for a while. And as a result, changes his entire life.
I love that. I do love the way the location plays into it. And I actually wanted to touch on that with you, Gonzalo, because as Ian mentioned, you were living in the Canary Islands around this time as well. What was the location scouting like on this? And how did you go about finding the look for this movie? Because it almost feels like a documentary in a sense with how grounded and natural everything looks.
The first thing we did was with Nacho, with the writer, we went to do some preliminary scouting before the script was finished to really write the scenes specifically in those places, So when you read the final script, in the script was already saying exactly what beach or what hotel, what street, or, all the places, because we've been there, we did it. And then we did the whole scouting. I don't know how many times I went on my own or with a crew to Fuerteventura. I was like really driving along by myself. And always when I make a movie, I always have the feeling that I'm missing things. You're shooting something, but then you look with the corner of your eye, there's something that is happening over there. And I never have the luxury to stop what I'm doing and shoot what's happening over there, because you can't do it. I mean, if you're doing this kind of not big budget movies, you have to focus on the schedule. But in this one, I was so obsessed with portraying those landscapes and the island, how the island looks, that I don't feel that I missed anything. I was able to really go deep into the landscapes, and it's not about the landscapes, it's about the mood the landscapes give you, that feel. And as you said, it's not that we wanted to do a documentary style, but we wanted to be with him. We wanted to be with Wilson from the very beginning. So how we approach the camera angle and the elements that we're gonna, how we're gonna follow the character. So we created our own rules. So Jose David, the director of photography and my friend, he had the idea of just choosing one lens and doing the whole film with one lens. So that's probably what you saw, that kind of documentary style. Because we're not changing lenses, and you don't, it's like we just change the camera angle. And if Wilson is listening, we do it in one way. And if Wilson is looking at something, we're doing it a different way. So that helped shape the style of the film, So those little decisions you take, that you create your own rules, and you don't do things because you just want to do it. You do things because you're just following your own book of rules. Then at the end, that makes a style.
I love that. And it plays so well into Wilson's journey, into his exploration of this island and of himself. And Ian, I'd like to turn to you next. I mean, you've been on blockbuster productions that use lots of green screen. You've been on movies like this where you are on location. What do you feel is a benefit in being, immersed in a place like the Canary Islands for a character like Wilson in comparison to some of those other projects?
It's a great way to make a movie. You can. I mean, the subject it's a large subject matter, the human psyche, but the location is small, the crew is small, and you have a chance to do exactly the movie that you want to make. But again, the budget never seemed to come into it because nobody was standing over your shoulder. You got a very responsible crew, responsible actors on the set. Everybody, we rehearsed before. There was no every morning arguing or quibbling about a script. You just got on with it. We'd done that. We'd had table reads. We'd gone through it. We had costume. We'd had only for 4 days, but it seemed perfectly, didn't it? The timing, it rarely happens that you arrive on a set like this. It felt a bit like Wilson. I arrived, did test, whatever, costumes. We talked about it. We met Gonzalo. We'd already worked together. I knew Jose. Then we made the movie. And then you flew home, and I was like, did that happen? But then over the next year and a half, and there's no wasted movie. There's no wasted footage. I mean, I think
No.
there really isn't. I mean, every day, the only footage, I did also become an extremely adept driver. So I was never out of the car. But when we could sneak things occasionally, we'd finish driving and we'd do some extra driving, shots, whatever.
It's like that thing you said, that there's no footage that we just. But no,
I knew what he wanted to do.
I edited, I think, in 4 weeks because it was we shot it like that. I shot it like that. So I knew what I wanted to see. So it was just about putting all the pieces together that, like the storyboard. Like
the music works well. I think the music's a purpose, sort of the soundscape.
That's one of the things.
You call it that. It's not really music, but it's soundscape.
It sounds, but the fact that we had music before working on the script, because I work with Remate, with the composer now already for some movies, and he's always giving me the music, even to write the music, to write the script or to go on location. So I don't have to start listening to music from other composers that then you feel cheated because you're using other things, So I use already things that he's giving me. And how fast we did the editing, it's because we were surgical. We know exactly what we want to do.
That's amazing. Well, the time was clearly well spent in putting this movie together across these many years. So I want to congrats again to you both for that. I see I'm almost out of time. So before I let you both go, Ian, I did have a couple of questions outside of the movie, as I'm sure you're prepared for. Of course, adore you in the John Wick movies. I love at the end of chapter 4, Winston's farewell to John, but at the same time, it does sort of raise the question that people have had for a lot of the movies of whether Winston is actually John's father. And I'm curious if you yourself know that answer, or if that's something you feel could be true.
I know nothing, senor. No, I'm sure they're working on another John Wick possible 5 script. I mean, Keanu and I talk about it. I mean, the next one, the chapter is Ballerina, which comes out in June, which is the spin-off with Ana de Armas, which takes place between 3 and 4, because I get to work with my dear friend Lance Reddick. God bless you, kid. I got to work with him again on it. I mean, that was my idea at the end of that, to have the tattoo on the hand and to say in Russian, goodbye in Russian, that's Vidania, my son, whatever, my son, whatever. But it's just a tease to the audience. Who knows what they'll come up with? I'm sure, at one point they had me killed off in episode 4. They kill everybody until they decide who can we really remain, who remains, whatever. So there'll be a spin-off between me and the Bowery King, I'm sure, or whatever, at one point. That'd be nice.
I would love to.
Who knows? See, but no, it was good. Again, that was a great example of working in a big movie. I love Chad because it's like working on a small movie. He works everything out, except you have, we did that. The last chase scene was like a week's work at Sacre-Cœur, when at the end of it, even the priest wanted us to get the hell out of there. He couldn't stand us having us around. But the great thing is that was a great crew. But again, there's nothing like working on a movie like we did on American Star, when you can concentrate and, everybody's there and you don't have to say, all the time. I mean, we had 1 camera. Well, we had 2 cameras, but you really have a couple of times. Yeah. But, we have on John Wick, we have, all big films do. You have 17 cameras working at various times. It's wonderful, the film business. I mean, I'm very lucky to be part of it. But this is a special occasion when you get to make it part of the producing a film like this with a very gifted filmmaker like him. And I'm sure he'll go on to make many more movies.
I definitely look forward to seeing what if you two can collaborate on something like together again. But I did actually want to touch on one thing you mentioned, which is obviously there's been scattered reports about a chapter 5 coming, but I actually like the idea of things like Ballerina or even a Winston and Bowery King spinoff of just focusing on the other characters and letting John rest. How do you feel about where the future of that franchise should go?
I think Keanu deserves a good rest as long as he wants. I spoke to him the other day. He's resting for a while after the beating he's taken over the last 10 years from all the assassins of the world. Let him rest until he decides to rise from his grave once again, or wherever he sleeps. Because really, I'm his father and he's the vampire. So I'm Vlad, Vlad the Impaler.
That would be a weird twist, but I would accept it.
Hey, there's a whole horror film to be made out of this. Everything can zoom into something else. There's no rules.
This is so true. And with Chad's creative brain, he can make it work.
Absolutely.
But thank you for indulging me for the John Wick questions, but I truly, truly do look forward to spreading the word about American Star for you both. It is.
Thank you so
I
much.
can't speak enough positive words about it. You've both done an incredible job. So thank you for taking the time, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.